The planet Kronus. Beset on all sides by the tides of war, this once quiet colony became a savage battlefield. 7 armies clashed on this one world, each refusing to back down. Each convinced it was in the right. From beneath the sands of Kronus' central desert came the Necrons, ancient machines bent on eradicating all life. But another evil already had its eyes on the planet. From the depths of the warp, the demonic forces of chaos arrived to enforce their claim. To oppose these fearsome powers, the planet's rulers in the Tau Empire sent their elite soldiers and sophisticated battlesuits into the fray. From the mighty Imperium of Man came the Imperial Guard, there to secure Kronus for the glory of the God Emperor. Like a green tide, the Ork horde descended on Kronus, caring little for others' claims and sowing destruction in its wake. The Eldar, ancient enemies of the Necrons, emerged from their webway to pursue their own agenda on Kronus. And last came the Space Marines, finest and most uncompromising of the Imperium soldiers. Seeing a world beset by aliens and heretics, they undertook a great purge. A Dark Crusade had begun. It could only end with the total victory of one of these factions, and the total defeat of all others. The rise of the Necrons and the arrival of other powers on Kronus was a threat the Tau Empire could not ignore. With their doctrine built firmly around the so-called greater good, the Tau could not tolerate seeing a thriving colony taken away from them. The Ethereals, leaders of the Empire, responded to the distress signals from Kronus by sending some of their best and brightest to retake the world. Aunel Shiorez was among the most lauded of a new generation of the Ethereal caste. He would be responsible for restoring proper order to this wayward world. With him came the military leader, Shas Okais, a student of the teachings of Commander Puretide. Okais brought a massive force of fire-caste warriors, as well as auxiliaries from the Tau's allied races, the Kroot and the Vespid. Tau ground forces landed in the city of Tashin, or Ashadis, to use his true Imperial name. And from there began the crusade to retake the planet as a whole. In a foul shrine in the Deimos Peninsula, lost souls summoned the Black Apostle Eliphas to Kronus. There the word-bearers raised their black temples and launched their assault on the world. Eldritch energies split the earth with abyssal fissures and remade the lush jungles into a nightmare landscape, pulsing with ruinous energies. A master demagogue, Eliphas made an advantage of the fractious nature of those bent to chaos. Instead of relying on a unified defense, he allowed his champions and cult leaders to establish their own satellite temples, where they could pursue their own dark rituals. Any attacker who hoped to defeat the Word-Bearers would have to run a bloody gauntlet of heretics, including some of the Legion's most veteran Chaos Space Marines. Indeed, killing the heretics on Kronus was pointless so long as the Great War Portal in Eliphas's Bastion remained open. The dark spells of the sorcerers Amphion and Zathus maintained this massive rend in the fabric of creation, granting Eliphas endless reinforcements. So long as the Deimos portal remained open, there could be no victory on Kronus.
With the 37 keys of Tzeentch, we open the way for our brothers. With the 1,000 whispers of Slaanesh, we call to them. With the 12 plagues of Nurgle, we fell their enemies. And with the mighty axe of Khorne, we cut open the world for them. Yes, come forth, to bear the word of chaos. Hear my warnings, unbelievers, carried to your minds by the power of the Prince of Excess himself. We have raised altars in this land so that we may sacrifice you to our gods. Veterans of 10 millennia of unholy war wait to grind you beneath the treads of their mighty boots. The chosen of Khorne hunger to add you to their bloody tally. The blood god himself has marked this land and will claim your skulls for his throne. There is no hope in opposing the inevitable. Put down your arms, unbelievers, and bow before the forces of chaos undivided. Alien, you come here to your doom.
I've got a buzzing in my comms. Switching channels.
You are intruders here. Your sacrifice will feed the gods of chaos. They reject the word of chaos, my lord. The faithful here are not strong enough.
It is a poor shepherd who blames his flock apostle. This failure is yours and yours alone.
No, I will not go to the Basilica of Torments again.
Fear not, apostle. The Basilica is reserved for those who may redeem themselves.
No. No!
You will have no such chance. The Tau forces who came to Kronus had not fought any major battles against the agents of chaos, and could not know the madness that awaited them. Nevertheless, Okai's forces held strong, refusing to give in to the demons and heretics. The force pushed forward and finally disrupted the black enchantment that had brought the Chaos Space Marines to Kronus. Somewhat miraculously, not a single of the Tau soldiers fell into warp heresy during the assault. In the wake of this battle, however, the soldiers of the Fire Caste struggled to understand just what they had witnessed. Onel Shiorez acted quickly to preserve his forces against the power of heresy. He ordered that all structures and ritual artifacts on the peninsula be leveled and the area sealed off under guard. Crude carnivores who had partaken of the flesh of dead Chaos Space Marines and cultists were ruthlessly hunted down, lest the taint make its way into their gene matrix. Those opposing Warlord Gorgut's headhunters Green Tide faced the same challenge the Tau had faced on Kronus for generations. Pushing the orcs back from the deserts and cities was one thing, but dislodging them from the jungle was another altogether. Even the legendary Tau leader, Commander Farsight, had failed to purge the orc-infested swamps of the Green Coast. Still, a complete purge wasn't necessary to break Gorguts. The warlord had cobbled together his great horde, or Waaagh, in the parlance of the alien, from a large number of fractious clans and tribes. So long as the warlord led the Waaagh to victory, their clan's loyalty was assured. But with enemies assailing them in their very homes, discontent reared its head among the orcs. Secondary chieftains wondered if they might not make better warlords than Gorguts. With these fissures in the Waaagh widening, the orcs' enemies struck. They drove deep into the Green Coast, hoping to eliminate Gorguts himself and plunge the horde into infighting and rebellion. For Warlord Gorguts, the only solution was to crush the attackers under unrelenting waves of orc warriors. You think
think you can sneak about without me boys seeing ya? You think you can come for me head?
Orcs is never beaten in battle.
Shut it, you grot! The rest of them are coming and we got to be ready. Tell the boys there's some killing to do. I made them big banners to remind the clans that they better keep their boys in line. I don't want no squigheads looking to fight me when the enemy's right here.
Gorguts is the war boss. Got it, you mucksuckers? This here voicey box let him talk to you. So open your ears.
Listen up, you grots and squids. They's coming for us like we some kind of humy kits, but we ain't. We's the orcs, and this here is gonna be one great fight. So get your choppers and your shooters ready, boys, cause there's some killing to do. Head crushers, you ready? Foot stompers, you squiggers and such ready? Burner boys, you wanna fight? Rocket Rangers, you in it or what? And what about yous, quick mechs? You gonna let these other runts get all the good fighting done? That's right, we gonna crush 'em all. This here is a right and proper war!
Ork, you don't have a chance. Surrender for the greater good.
You don't know much about orcs, do ya, Greyskin?
I have given you your chance. The time for talk is over.
Now you're seeing things my way, Greyskin. Shut your yap and get to fighting.
Gorguts ain't so tough. Get him!
Ain't no grot lovers gonna leave me war! Chop 'em up, boys!
Boss! The head crushers is rebelling!
I can see that, you squig farmer! Shut your yap and get back to killing!
But killing who, boss? Oh, the big banner is gone! The big banner is gone! I'm the boss now, so shut it! Head crushers! We's on our own now!
Got it.
Gorguts let him take the Maw of Gork! He ain't no boss! Get him! Gorguts' big banner got blown up! Gorguts is a grot herder, that one! I should be boss! No way! I's the boss now! Told you the boss wasn't so tough! He can't even protect his own banner! Bet your Gorguts ain't so tough neither! Yeah, let's find out! Big banners burn good, don't they? That was the boss's big banner you get. Big boss banners burn real good.
The squiggers loose! Clear out, boys!
Oh, no!
Here they come, foot stompers! Keep the trainer safe! I don't want no squiggers stomping our boys!
Gorgut's big banner just got itself stomped! We'll stomp all the Gorguts, his boys!
Come on, Greyskin! I need your skull for me pointy stick!
Don't you see that your defeat is inevitable, Ork? You cannot hope to win.
How about shutting your yap and getting over here so I can chop ya? Can I hope for that?
Barbarian.
Missiles locking on. We are on about to fight. Open fire. First gathering fire.
You ain't got me yet. Got me one more surprise for you.
Boss? Who's getting shot up?
Ain't you the master of the obvious? Use explosives.
The what?
The bomb, you git. The bomb. Always have your tunnels dug and ready.
You sure is smart, boss.
Shut it, you git! I got me a whole war to rebuild. Now get me the gork off of this here planet.
The legendary Tau commander Farsight had led troops on Kronus some decades before the Dark Crusade and had smashed the Ork horde of the war boss Bonecracker. Ork Waaagh studied Farsight's tactics and used them in his assault on the Green Coast. By eliminating Warlord Gorguts, he plunged the Ork horde into a cycle of infighting that effectively took them out of the battle for Kronus. Still, Aonel Shorez was hardly pleased that Kronus' jungle remained infested with feral orcs. Even with other opponents still to fight, the Ethereal directed significant numbers of fire warriors and Kroot carnivores to hunt the remaining orcs, taking back 1 square kilometer of jungle at a time. The Kroot proved the most successful here, taking over much of the ecosystems of these areas in order to hunt down the orcs. Soon, the jungles of Kronus resembled the Kroot homeworld of Pesh more than anything. The full extent of the Necron presence on Kronus did not become clear until those opposing them launched raids into the catacombs under the Thur Abyss Plateau. The first Necron massacres on the planet had occurred there, and their enemies expected to find some sort of alien bastion. Instead, they found an entryway into the underworld. Garbled reports from doomed scouts sent into the cavernous passageways revealed a network of catacombs honeycombing the entire plateau. Some of these now stood hollowed out, while others served as staging grounds for Necron forces. Worst of all, however, were the deeper tunnels, where row upon row of Necrons still stood, slowly waking to join their lord's global genocide. The attackers settled on a dangerous gambit. A strike force would enter the catacombs and plant a massive explosive device deep in the main cavern. An explosion there would collapse the entire network, crushing or sealing off the legions of still dormant Necrons and shattering those already risen. It remained to be seen if anyone could deliver this device, much less escape in time to continue the fight across Kronus.
Etherios, protect us!
creatures. At long last you have found the tranquility of death. I was like you once, clinging to life and blind to the truth. When I uncovered the truth, I too shuddered and paled with fear. Deep in these catacombs, I was remade. Here, my brethren slumbered for eons, while the living grew like weeds. My lord knew this day would come. He had plans for us all. We would purge this world once more. So come, poor victims of life. We will grant you tranquility in these crypts. Kronus will be a tomb world once more.
The Necrons are an offense to the greater good, Commander. We must destroy them here and now.
I concur, Onel, and I have a plan. The Earthcast has discovered that these catacombs are unstable. If we can place a fusion bomb at the deepest point, we can bring the whole complex down on top of the Necrons.
I see. The fate of this planet depends on your success, Commander.
I understand. I will plant the charge myself.
Very well. But this is no suicide mission, O Kais. There are battles still to fight even if you succeed here. I expect you to survive this day, Commander. Commander, there are malignant energies concentrated at certain locations in this cavern. Dangers certainly await at each one.
Better that we scout and eliminate them before planting the bomb. Any surprises while escaping could prove deadly.
You have penetrated but the very surface of our catacombs. More and more of us rise from the depths with every passing moment.
You needed fire support? Sensors are picking up strange energies emitting from that structure. Their signature matches the energies used by the Necron Lord. This beacon must be a fearsome weapon. Destroy it before it reaches full power.
We are deathless interlopers. Under the shadow of the beacon of unlife, the fallen rise again.
Another Necron beacon. Destroy it.
Darkness veils your eyes and dulls your senses. Before the beacon of the deceiver, we are like deadly shadows, hidden from your sight.
Another access to the abandoned tunnels. We can move troops through there. Another Necron beacon. Destroy it.
All machines serve the Catan in the end. Bring your vehicles before the beacon of the Void Dragon, and watch as they turn against you.
Another Necron beacon. Destroy it.
Time itself bends to the will of the Catan, fools. Come before the Chronometron beacon and be frozen into the stillness of death.
The charge has been set, and the countdown has begun. Secure an escape route, and prepare to withdraw.
Our bond is strong. We will not fail.
Bring them back, my lord. The living are escaping. My lord, the living have... Waagh's drive into the Necron catacombs relied heavily on the stealth and speed of his forces to deliver a fusion bomb to the heart of the deathless enemy's power. His gambit succeeded, although he left many soldiers behind him. In the wake of the battle, Onel Shorez directed the creation of a vast research complex on the Thur Abyss Plateau. Under the protection of fire warriors, the scientists of the Earth Caste began the slow process of studying the technology used by the Necrons. The few pieces of Necron weaponry and smashed warriors that did not fade out of existence were subjected to very close scrutiny indeed. Whether or not the Tau Empire was ever able to make use of this ancient and loathsome technology is unknown. But their weaponry continues to advance, much to the chagrin of the Imperial forces facing them in combat. The Space Marines of the Blood Ravens chapter were well entrenched in their castellum in North Vandia when they finally faced an all-out attack. Utterly unwilling to surrender or retreat any further, the Blood Ravens prepared a mighty defense against the coming assault. Among those defending the keep were Space Marines drawn from the chapter's hallowed First Company. These were the hardened veterans of many crusades, each man ready and able to face down whole squads of enemy attackers. The Blood Ravens on the ground would be further bolstered by fresh troops arriving from the battle barge Litania Fury in orbit around the planet. Only two factors made the Blood Ravens at all assailable in their stronghold. Most critically, the fortress was unable to receive reinforcements directly from orbit. Captain Thule thus had to establish a forward base to receive drop pods and landing craft. Although well defended, this base could be taken. Secondly, the Space Marines had established their base near ancient ruins, which the Ravens claimed held relics of great importance to the chapter. Unwilling to desecrate the space by fortifying it, Thule opened the door to an enemy claiming the area and thus dealing a powerful blow to the normally unbreakable Space Marine morale. The Battle of North Vandia would be one of the bloodiest of the entire war.
The enemy is at our doorstep and thinks he can push us off this world. He is already gloating. He can taste his victory. But what he fails to see is that we will make this his last meal. The Chief Librarian has ordered the purge of this world to protect our chapter's secrets. Are we to retreat with our duty unfulfilled? Are we to let a black mark stain the banner of the Blood Ravens? I say that we will not. I say our enemies will regret the day they ever decided to face us in battle. Our battle barge orbits overhead and will rain the Emperor's holy fury upon our opponents. More of our brothers will come to join the fight. But as ever, our enemy outnumbers us. Each of you must be an army in your own right. Veterans of the First Company, the finest of the entire chapter, stand with us. Let their valor guide your fire into the enemy's heart. Remember that we are Blood Ravens, brothers. We have all sworn to protect fonts of hidden knowledge. Each one of us must fall before handing this word to the enemy. The Emperor is with us. The unknown Primarch is with us. They have come for our blood, but they will drown in their own.
Surrender, human. If not for you, then for the greater good.
The greater good is coming to you from my bolter, alien.
Do the deaths of your soldiers mean so little to you? Are you that mad?
Do the deaths of yours mean so much to you, alien? Are you that weak? Reinforcements have arrived! To battle, Blood Ravens!
For the Emperor!
You will not squelch our faith so easily, alien.
The Tau Empire will respect your faith, human, if you would only see reason.
Our faith is in the Emperor of Man, alien. To bow to you is heresy.
Then you follow the path to destruction.
Better destruction than bondage.
So says the slave to the free man. You should have surrendered, Waaagh. Now it is too late.
Come on, then. Your death awaits. No! We cannot fail.
The gene seed must be preserved. Get Captain Fuel to the Thunderhawk. Understood. Join them, Brother Apothecary. We will cover your escape. And you? We cannot allow the enemy to claim our relics. This area must be cleansed with orbital fire. The chapter will honor you, brother. There is no honor to be had in defeat. But someone must deliver the targeting beacon. Orbital control. Lock onto this beacon and fire. Full power.
Tau forces and Space Marines had clashed on Kronus during the Damocles Gulf Crusade. But these had been small hit-and-run engagements. The Tau assault on North Vandia was something else altogether, with Ork Waaagh leading his troops in an assault on the entrenched and well-defended Blood Ravens. Warriors of the Emperor, the Space Marines left many Tau and Kroot dead, but were unable to hold back Ork Waaagh's tide. When the Blood Ravens left Kronus, many of their finest soldiers lay dead in North Vandia. In the Blood Ravens, Onel Shiorez saw what he considered the worst of the Imperium of Man. The Ethereal called their faith madness, and their purge of Kronus murder on a global scale. He chose thus to preserve the remains of the Space Marine fortress in North Vandia as an example of the opposition the greater good faced in the wider galaxy. Eldar rely on stealth and trickery where others trust in direct force and valor. An ancient and debased people, the aliens only sully their hands in battle when they have no choice. When the Eldar's enemies at last tracked down their hidden base of operations in Tyria, the far-seer Taldir turned to a strategy of trickery. In this, she followed the ways of her ancient and deceitful race. Her forces were centered on a great reinforced hill in a remote, frozen area with very limited access. To cut off these access points, the far-seer lured Cat's Paws to Tyria. Orcs, dissatisfied with the Waaagh of Warlord Gorguts, followed advice whispered by Taldir's warlocks and camped right where they could screen the Eldar from attackers. The Eldar, nevertheless, built a substantial force of their own. Advanced webway gates allowed them to ferry troops from the Wraith ship hiding behind a holofield somewhere in the Kronus system. But these same gates were the Eldar's great weakness. If attackers could take and hold them, Taldir would be cut off from reinforcements and any hope of escape. Alone and outnumbered, the Eldar would be caught in their own trap.
All is prepared.
Excellent. Exarch Recanus, take your warp spiders to their positions and then return to the aspect shrine.
We are on our way.
You have doubts, Harlequin?
I trust in your vision, Taldir of Oathway, but to stand surrounded by primitives makes me uneasy.
I understand your distaste, but Eldar rely on speed and stealth. We are not made for entrenched positions. The Orks, however, make for excellent tools. They will keep the supply roads closed and our true enemies weak.
And if these attackers defeat the Orks?
I do not doubt they will overcome our cat's paws, but it will cost them. And in their weakened state, they will face the wailing doom itself. The Seer Council has named the young king. Exarch Recanus of the Warp Spider Shrine shall sacrifice himself to awaken our most powerful warrior, the Avatar of Cain.
None shall escape my wrath.
Commander, we have located an Eldar mystic at a forward camp to the west.
On-El has spoken of these mystics' wisdom. Surely she can be made to recognize the value in joining the greater good.
There's more than just puny Eldars here. We was right to split off from Gorguts' lot. We're gonna have us a proper war right here. War! We seduced the Squiggles on them. No, leave them be. The Squiggles ain't trained yet. And I don't want to get stuck scraping bits of you after their feet. Bloody Eldar tricked me.
We had thought the Omega and Gamma teams to be lost, but they live and are ready to fight for the greater good.
Return to the main base. Let our enemies fight amongst themselves.
Got them! Got them all!
A masterful feint by the Eldar. We need to clean out these humans before we can proceed.
Alien scum! I will wipe this planet clean with you while that fool Eliphas only waits!
The Bastion remains strong, Farseer, but the webway gates to your Wraith ship are vulnerable.
Our course is clear then. Protect the gates at all costs. Without them, we may never escape this world. We must drive the attackers back!
Kais, the Earthcast has determined that the Eldar are utilizing these structures to transport their invasion force.
We shall take them and trap their forces before they can escape. Then, they will have no choice but to recognize the greater good.
It cannot be!
something with some bite.
The enemy has taken a webway gate! Drive them back! The Wraithbone will never answer your call, outsider! Retreat, now! We cannot allow them to hold the gates for long! Show them no mercy, brothers and sisters!
Harbinger deployed.
I will lead our warriors.
The webway is closed to us now. We are trapped on this world. The avatar of Cain has fallen. Go, all of you. Find what refuge you can in the wilderness of this world.
Escape is still possible, Farseer.
I do not deserve that title, Harlequin. My vision has failed us all. My fate is here, and I shall not flee from it.
The Dark Crusade represented one of the first major clashes between the Tau Empire and Eldar forces. Both alien powers favored speed and stealth, and both employed a variety of inhuman technologies. Ultimately, the young surpassed the old, and Ork forces overran the Eldar in Tyria. The Tau forces were very keen to learn the secrets of Eldar technologies. Negotiations for the release of Eldar prisoners could begin only after hostilities ended on Kronus. In the meantime, water-caste diplomats conducted extensive interviews with all Eldar prisoners. Earth-caste scientists, meanwhile, dissected and analyzed the technologies of the Eldar. Although the Tau quickly analyzed Eldar laser and shuriken weapons, more esoteric weapons, like the warp-powered distort cannon, and the nature of the Wraithbone material used in so much Eldar construction, proved much harder to crack. Upon arriving on Kronus, General Lucas Alexander became Governor Militant, and set about reclaiming the planet for the Imperium. When his enemies launched attacks on his capital, he prepared to repel them with extreme prejudice. Experts in planetary defense, the men of the Imperial Guard, were heavily dug in and fortified in Victory Bay. Any attacker would face well-armed and well-supplied soldiers, backed by powerful armored columns and artillery positions. The Guard's only real weakness was its morale. Although most soldiers served honorably, the men of the regiment's 5th Company had proven less than stalwart, and were placed under command of Regimental Commissar Anton Gebet in a forward base on the northern shore of the Victoria River. Without Gebet's whip, the company and its base would surely fold. Other companies took position in forward bases in more sensitive areas, ready to drive the enemy off. Still, determined attackers could overrun those positions. Governor Alexander remained confident, however. Indeed, Any opponent who made it past his forward positions would find themselves staring down the barrel of the massive Hellstorm cannon of an Imperator Titan.
Fifth Company, this is the moment of truth. You will not fear. You will not falter. You will not give a single step to the enemy.
But sir...
If you will not serve in combat, then you will serve on the firing line.
Enemies of the Imperium, hear me. You have come here to die. The immortal Emperor is with us, and we are invincible. His soldiers will strike you down. His war machines will crush you under their treads. His mighty guns will bring the very sky crashing down upon you. You cannot win. The Emperor has given us his greatest weapon to wield. So make yourselves ready. We are the 1st Kronus Regiment, and today is our victory day.
It would serve the greater good if you would lay down arms, human. This planet shall be returned to the Tau Empire, as is proper.
You have no claim to this city or this world, alien.
Go, go, go!
On my command, fire the Titan cannon. Fire! Begin recharge! I want that gun firing again!
Your political officer could not see reason, human, but it is not too late for you to spare your men further suffering.
Every soldier of the Imperium will gladly lay down his life to stop you. The Titan cannon power grid is under attack! Redirect fire to protect it and initiate repairs!
I will ease the machine's pain.
Just keep it online, Tech Priest. The power grid is gone, but the Emperor is still with us. Give them hell, men! The aliens are at the gates, men! Drive them back!
Your men have fought well, human, but your end is upon you.
Never!
Command post is gone. We can't hold them back much longer. We can't allow the Titan cannon to fall into their hands. Overload the core.
For the Emperor!
Powers on Kronus threatened the Tau forces there with outright extermination. The Imperial Guard forces, centered in Victory Bay, threatened the legitimacy of the Tau claim to the world. Given the aliens' unshakable faith in their own cause, this was in many ways the greater threat. And Ork Waaagh led his forces into Victory Bay as crusaders against heresy more than anything. This drive ultimately overcame the defenses set up by Governor Militant Alexander's forces. In the aftermath of the battle, the Tau rounded up the surviving guardsmen and established a re-education camp in an attempt to make them betray the God Emperor and embrace the Tau cause. Many resisted, most notably a Kasserkin squad which managed to escape into the countryside and launch a small guerrilla campaign. but others succumbed and surrendered all they knew to the Tau. In the years to come, the forces of the Imperium would have reason to rue this last betrayal, as Tau forces struck at weak points on several planets. With the last enemy stronghold broken, the Tau hold on Kronus became secure once again. The task force sent from the Tau homeworld remained on the planet to secure it, and soon thereafter, further waves of settlers and colonists arrived from across the Empire. The humans left on Kronus found life increasingly difficult for them. Many had embraced the Imperial return, and now found themselves subject to re-education or other penalties. Intensive colonization by Tau and Kroot led to a rapid demographic swing, with the human population dwindling to less than 5% a decade after the Dark Crusade. Although no public announcements were ever made to this effect, it seems clear that human births on Kronus also dropped precipitously. In part, this is due to the single-gender re-education camps imposed by the Tau. But it is also possible that the alien powers undertook some form of sterilization project, all for the so-called greater good. Whatever the truth, when Kronus was admitted as a full sept of the so-called Third Sphere, its human population was but a footnote.